the regular season opener Sunday against Houston. The 37-year-old Stafford missed all of the preseason and most of training camp with an aggravated disc in his lower back. Stafford is scheduled to practice with the first unit all week to get ready for Sunday. Jackson State moved up to number 15 in this week's top 25 Division I AA college football poll. Jackson State is the only HBCU team ranked in the top 25. The Tigers opened the season Saturday with a 28-14 win over Hampton. Top 5 teams in this week's Division I poll: Ohio State, Penn State, LSU, Georgia, and Miami. The Dodgers lost to Pittsburgh 9-7. They still have a 2.5 game lead over San Diego in the NL West. The Angels beat Kansas City 5-1, a 2-run homer for right fielder Joe Adele. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
Troy Ayers on Tavis, Smiley, and I am delighted to have you with us in this hour of our program. As promised, a career conversation with former NBA All-Star, former Mayor of Sacramento, California, and successful entrepreneur Kevin Johnson. KJ recently founded the National Association of Black Bookstores in honor of his precious mother, so we'll talk about that as well. Lots to unpack with KJ in this hour. Mayor Johnson, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. You get me excited. You make me want to put my sneakers back on.
I know you can still do it, man. I know you can still do it. If you did lace up, I'm confident that you could, given all the great games that I watched you play in the NBA. And I'm glad to have you on the program. I haven't talked to you in a while. How are you, for starters?
Man, I'm doing really, really well.
Yeah.
Life is good. God is good. I'm healthy. My family's doing well, and I'm just trying to do my part to make a difference.
I love that. So let me again. I say this is going to be a career conversation, and you and I haven't had a chance to do this in this iteration of my broadcast work. So I'm glad I got an hour. A lot that I want to unpack with you. And I think I want to start here. I was thinking last night about I was in Chicago, I guess a week or so ago. And I did WGN television, the big station there in Chicago, and the mayor saw me on television, and so we started texting. And while I was there, he invited me to, stop by and say hello. So I popped into the mayor's office one day when I was there, and we spent, 30 minutes just privately chatting in his office in Chicago. And of course, you follow the news every day, so you see the way that this Trump administration is putting upon all kinds of cities that just happen to be, as you well know, cities with black mayors. Whether it's Karen Bass here in L.A. and his sending the National Guard and the Marines to our city against the advice and against the wishes of the mayor and the governor, for that matter. And now he's invaded Washington, D.C. Against the wishes of Muriel Bowser, the black mayor there. And now he's threatening to go to Chicago next. And J.B. Pritzker, the governor, and Brandon Johnson, the mayor, had a press conference yesterday saying they're ready for this fight, and they're going to fight him in the courts. And we all saw, of course, the ruling yesterday by the lower court that what Donald Trump did, sending those troops to L.A., was illegal. And so I am hopeful that decision by this lower court will slow him down in Chicago and Baltimore or wherever else he wants to go. But I raise that for the obvious reason. You, of course, were a black mayor in Sacramento. How have you processed watching all these other black mayors being put upon in this moment by this administration?
It's just very difficult to watch. It's hard enough being a mayor of a major city. It's hard enough being a black mayor in a major city. It makes us reflect back on when President Obama was in office, 2008 to 2016, how fortunate we were to have a president who supported local leadership at the local level.
Mm-hmm.
So as a black mayor, that was a dream administration to work with. I mean, we went to the White House, 12 to 14 times in a matter of a few years. And when you get a chance to work closely with the administration, it makes a big difference at the local level. You fast forward with the times that we're in today, it is very difficult to be a mayor. It's very difficult to be a black mayor. And it's very difficult to be a black mayor in a major city when an administration is not finding a way to work with you hand in hand. That, to me, would solve a lot of problems if the Trump administration would sit down with mayors and black mayors in particular of major cities and figure out a way that we can do win-wins together. When you don't do that, or when you impose something on a city, that in of itself is going to create a significant pushback and not the environment that I think anybody wants to govern in.
So my mind goes to Ronald Reagan. Speaking of California politics, Ronald Reagan, of course, former governor of this state where I sit and where Kevin Johnson lives. Reagan put upon cities in a way that was untenable. I was working for Tom Bradley, speaking of black mayors, around that time, and the way that Ronald Reagan maltreated cities was just mind-boggling. Fast forward all these years later, Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is maltreating cities the same way. Do you have a particular read? Speaking of working with the administration, a particular read on why so many Republican administrations are unfriendly? I would call it a war on cities, on urban centers. But do you have a particular read on why so many Republican presidents have not been so friendly to municipalities?
Yeah, it's difficult to know the rationale other than the obvious.
Right.
Politics, unfortunately, and race play critical roles in our country. Anybody who thinks that we're in a post, race society, we're not. President Obama's reminded us back then of how much progress we made, but how far we still need to go. And for me, I just hearken back to the days where we can come to the table, a Democrat and a Republican, and trying to find some middle ground. We're all in this together. And I don't think there's the leadership right now, or there's so much polarization across Democrats and Republicans, or in this party versus another party, that we can't have productive dialogue and productive progress. And I'm for that bipartisanship where you can come together, you sit down, you find out that you have more in like than you have in terms of differences, but that's absent from the dialogue today, and it's very unfortunate. It's difficult to watch as a former mayor what's transpiring around the country.
Yeah, this audience knows that all these folks have been guests on this program, and for that I'm grateful. Brandon Johnson in Chicago, Eric Adams in New York City, of course, Karen Bass here in L.A. They come through this program with some regularity, them and other black mayors for that matter, in this country. And I tease them all the time. I don't know why anybody would want to be a mayor of a city right now. Like, why would you want this job is what I say to them all the time. I'm glad they're neither there, but why would you want it? Which leads me to ask, when we come forward, why Kevin Johnson wanted to be mayor of Sacramento following an amazing career in the NBA and given all the success he's having as an entrepreneur. One of my favorite restaurants in this city is a restaurant he owns in downtown L.A. called Fixin's. So he's been quite successful as an entrepreneur. Again, just an amazing life. And why he wanted to be mayor of Sacramento, I don't know. I'm glad he was, but we'll talk about that part. And of course, we're going to talk about this new effort that he has brought online, the National Association of Black Bookstores, in honor of his precious mother, who owned a bookstore for many, many years there in Sacramento before she passed away. So a lot to talk about with KJ when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
The following is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit fvgradio.com. If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise. See website for complete details. We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431, and give us your answer. The proceeding is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by this program or its affiliates.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
What's that sound? That's the sound of Downy Unstoppable scent beads going into your washing machine and giving your clothes freshness that lasts all day long. There it is again. It's like music to your ears, or more like music to your nose. That freshness is irresistible. Let's get a Downy Unstoppables bottle shake. And now a sniff solo. Nice. With Downy Unstoppables, you just toss, wash, wow, for all-day freshness.
Agnes was in deep trouble with the IRS.
I owed the IRS a lot of money. I did not know what I was going to do. I was scared.
Agnes caught a break and found out about Optima Tax Relief.
But when I called Optima Tax, they guaranteed me that they were going to help me out the best that they can. And they did.
Optima stopped the IRS.
No more telephone calls, no more letters. Optima Tax took care of everything. I can finally sleep at night. I was stress-free.
Agnes was finally free from her IRS nightmare.
It was like a burden was lifted off of me, and it was a great feeling.
Are you in deep trouble with the IRS? You might want to listen to Agnes.
I would refer Optima Tax Relief to anyone because they got me debt-free from owing the IRS any more money.
Call Optima right now for your free consultation. Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
I know him and love him and respect him as KJ all these years. I got to do better in calling him Mayor Johnson in this conversation and not just KJ. He was the former mayor of the city of Sacramento, former NBA All-Star. He's our guest in this hour, Kevin Johnson. Kevin and I guess we just talked this up. We were just talking about, I was just mentioning Eric Adams and a number of black mayors. And Kevin Johnson and I were talking moments ago, in case you just tuned in, about the hell that black mayors in this country have to deal with relative to the Trump administration, whether you're Karen Bass in L.A. or Muriel Bowser in D.C. right about now, Brandon Johnson in Chicago. We mentioned Eric Adams. Well, the minute I said that, my phone pinged, and there's breaking news. Let me just read this headline and read the first 3 paragraphs of this article. Headline in the New York Times, just out now. Trump advisors have discussed a job for Adams if he quits mayor's race. That's the headline. Trump advisors have discussed a job for Adams if he quits mayor's race. Let me read very quickly the first 2 or 3 paragraphs of this article from the New York Times, just out literally moments ago. Advisors to President Trump have discussed the possibility of giving Mayor Eric Adams of New York City a position in the administration as a way to clear the field in November's mayoral election and damage the chances of the Democratic frontrunner Zoran Mandami, according to 3 people with knowledge of the discussions. The talks have also involved finding a possible place in the administration for the Republican candidate, Curtis Sliwa. The goal, the people said, would be to give former Governor Andrew M. Cuomo a better chance of defeating Mandani in November's general election. Now, let me just pause for a second before I let Kevin Johnson respond as he will. This is the kind of cesspool politics that I can't stand. And Democrats do it. Republicans do it. Everybody is guilty of it. You may recall some weeks back we had James Clyburn on this program, and I asked James Clyburn about this very issue. There are so many people within the Democratic establishment who have not as yet endorsed Zoran Mandani. He's not been endorsed by the breadth and depth of the Democratic Party establishment, although he is the Democratic nominee. And I'm not hating on Andrew Cuomo. I don't even know Zoran Mandani. I know Andrew Cuomo rather well. I know the entire Cuomo family rather well. But he's the Democratic nominee. And I asked James Clyburn, you supported, Mr. Clyburn, I said to him, you supported Andrew Cuomo in the primary. Your guy lost. So tell me where you are right now. And he went on to tell me a story about the early days of his career. But the takeaway and his final comment was, if he is the Democratic Party nominee, then I've got to go with the Democratic Party nominee. My guy lost, and now I'm going with the Democratic Party nominee. But so many of the establishment have still not endorsed Zoran Mandani in this race in New York City. Now comes Donald Trump, apparently wanting to put his thumb on the scale to make sure that Zoran Mandani doesn't win that race, to give Andrew Cuomo a better chance at winning. So you heard the plan. You get Curtis Sliwa, the Republican, out of the race. You get Eric Adams out of the race. You give them positions in the Trump administration, and you clear the field for a one-on-one between Andrew and Zoran. And the hope is, at least on the part of Mr. Trump and others, that Andrew can pull this thing out, even though he lost the Democratic primary and stayed in the race nonetheless. I've been at this long enough to have seen this 1,000 times. I see Democrats trying to put their thumb on the scale in races that they want to win. I see Republicans do it. That's why I say it's just a cesspool. I digress. Kevin Johnson, anything you want to add to that breaking news?
Nothing is surprising me these days.
Yeah.
You talked about Mayor Karen Bass and Mayor Bowser, Mayor Johnson in Chicago, Mayor Adams. I mean, we all have so much integrity, and we got in this race, being political and public servants for the right reason. And there's no way he would fall for an opportunity to get out of a race and not continue to fight the good fight that he's fighting, good, bad, or indifferent.
Right.
Because somebody else, as you said, wants to put their thumb on the scales. It doesn't work like that. I was with Mayor Adams about a month ago in New York City, and he's fit for the fight, and he wants to do all he can from beginning to end to do his part to influence the political landscape of New York City. Whether he comes a little short or comes out on top, his point is he's got a role in this election, and he wants to play that role out to the end. And I think in terms of Mario Cuomo, who did not win in the primary, but found another way to participate. All that is fair game.
Right.
I think it's tricky when you have the administration potentially trying to play a role to influence an outcome.
Yep. So Andrew Cuomo sort of teed this up. There was a story a couple weeks ago, as I recall. He was at a fundraiser out in the Hamptons, and he sort of leaked this. He said then that he expected that Eric Adams might get out of the race. Again, at a private fundraiser, the audio or somebody reported it. So Andrew Cuomo is in on this, and he was fully aware of this weeks ago, and so said again at this private fundraiser, and that made news. Now you see a few weeks later the story taking fuller form, a fuller shape, with this story coming out. I don't know what Eric Adams will do. Again, he's been on this program a number of times. But I will say this, and this article points this out. In every poll, survey, and study, he keeps coming in fourth place, oftentimes in single digits. And so will he, in the coming days, drop out of the race? Will he, in the coming days, accept a position in the Trump administration? Will Curtis Sliwa do that? Will they clear the field to give Andrew Cuomo a greater shot at pulling this off? And ultimately, the question is, will it matter? I mean, if you look at the polling of late, Zohran Mamdani has a commanding lead in this race, but that's because the votes being split 4 or 5 different ways. So will it make a difference? I don't know. Obviously, we'll continue to cover this story as it develops, but these are interesting times when you have a Republican president trying to clear the way for a Democratic candidate to beat somebody who he doesn't want to be mayor. It's just, politics makes strange bedfellows. You all know that line. Politics makes for strange bedfellows. I'll leave it there for now. But anyway, there's the breaking news of this hour, that apparently there are conversations underway to get Eric Adams out of the race, to make it easier for Andrew Cuomo to take on Zohran Mamdani head-to-head. And again, that's still no guarantee that Andrew can pull this off. We shall see. Which leads me straightway, since we're talking about politics, straightway back to Sacramento. You see, as I said, it's a cesspool. Why did you want to get in this? I mean, you had an amazing career in the NBA. You're an amazingly successful entrepreneur. Why politics? What was the call for you, Kevin?
It's funny. I went to Cal Berkeley for college, and I majored in political science. So when I ran for mayor in 2008, it looked like I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
But it just happened to be that I chose a degree that was politics because I didn't want a typical athlete degree. I was trying to choose something that made it sound like I was smart because I went to Cal Berkeley and all that.
Yeah.
You fast forward, I'm in Sacramento in 2008. President Obama's running around the country, and I just thought that, my grandfather raised me to say you can't sit on the sidelines. If you believe you can do different or make a difference, then you need to throw your hat in the ring. And back then in Sacramento, I just felt Sacramento lacked leadership, and I didn't want to complain. Without putting my hat in the ring. I put my hat in the ring. I run. I win the primary. It's funny. One of the first people I called back then, believe it or not, was Martin Luther King III. And I asked for his input, and he said, if your heart is in it, like my daddy said, then you got to jump in because you got the character, you got the tenacity, you have the vision, you're from that community, and you'll make a big difference in Sacramento. So that was partly why I ran. And, it was a good 8 years. I ran. I served 2 terms in Sacramento. We made a lot of differences in a lot of areas. But, politics is a dirty game, and they throw really sharp elbows. Tavis, I played basketball where I thought that's where the real elbow throwing was happening. But man, you get the little old ladies sitting in the front rows, man, their elbows is just as sharp as some of them big NBA players. But it worked out. I was not a career politician. I wanted to make a difference. For the 8 years I was there, I enjoyed it. It was my hometown. I was the first African American being elected mayor, first person born in Sacramento being elected mayor of that city. So it was an honor, an extreme honor.
Yep. You said something that I find fascinating, and this is something we hear very, very, very rarely. You heard Kevin Johnson say, I am not a career politician. You know where I'm going with this. There are folk who've been around far too long. They don't want to stand down. They don't want to give it up. Politics is all they know. Washington is full of career politicians. So when you say rather proudly and boldly that I am not a career politician, why not?
I think for me, I wanted to make a difference at the local level. I wanted to show what could happen when you have a leader in a city who comes from the neighborhoods that are often most disadvantaged or underprivileged. You can have a city, my vision for Sacramento was to be a city that works for everyone. And as a result, that's what we set out to do. We made sure that the least among us was not missing from the significant conversations that happen at City Hall day in and day out. So that was number one. And then I think number two for me, I was lucky, Tavis, enough that I had my own money. So when I ran for mayor, nobody could buy me and tell me I had to do something for a dollar. You know, when you fundraising all the time, people try to control the people that they can finance or influence. And I had the freedom to say that if you don't believe in my vision, then I'm okay without your campaign contribution. I'm going to do what I think is right for the city. And as a result, I was able to finance my whole campaign. Most people can't do that.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult when they get in the fray. So for me, I had the independence and freedom that financially I was okay. And then thirdly, I just made a commitment, to my family that I was always going to do what was right and not ever try to do anything that violated my conscience or something I believed in because it was politically expedient or because the populace wanted it or because of some other reason that I just didn't believe in. So that freedom
Yeah.
is what I had from the beginning to the end, and I was always clear on the front end that I'm not a career politician, so you're gonna have to treat me a little bit different. And I was able to run a campaign in the city accordingly.
Yep. I receive what you've just said, and I don't have any pushback on it. And yet, while you were talking about the freedom that you had because you could, sort of finance your own campaign, my mind went to the other end of the spectrum that I want to get your take on, and that is people who buy these seats. I'm thinking of Rick Caruso here in L.A., who spent $100 million of his own money trying to buy this seat. I can go to New York, speaking of New York, and I think of Michael Bloomberg and all the money he spent to essentially buy that seat. And again, it's your money, and if the Supreme Court allows you to spend all your money on a particular race, then who am I to tell you how to spend or not spend your money? But there is something that just doesn't sit right with me when I see billionaires in a variety of ways just trying to buy stuff, including elective office. It's a tad bit different story than the one you were just telling about what you did in Sacramento. But I'm just curious as to whether or not you have thoughts about increasingly the number of billionaires who we see buying stuff that frankly ought not to be for sale.
You make a very valid point that mine was slightly different.
Right.
Mine was you put money up so you can campaign and have an equal opportunity to win a race. Around the country, it's just it puts a very negative taste in all of our mouths when you see somebody who has so much money and they can just buy what they want to do. That's just not the America that we believe in. We all fight to have political reform so things are put in place to prevent things from those things to happen. And often, far too often, it still does happen. And again, it just puts a bad taste in our mouth. It's unfortunate, and it still happens far too often.
Yeah, far too often. When we come forward in this conversation with the former mayor of Sacramento, former NBA All-Star Kevin Johnson, I want to talk a little bit about the NBA and the lessons. I suspect there are lessons that one takes away when one gets into politics. You heard him sort of joke earlier, maybe he wasn't joking about those elbows that are thrown in the NBA and those elbows that are thrown in politics, but I'm curious as to what the lessons were that he has taken from playing in the NBA, not just for his political career as former mayor of the state's capital here in California, Sacramento, but also in his entrepreneurial pursuits. What lessons from the NBA he applies every day to his work and witness these days. And then we're going to push toward this conversation about the National Association of Black Bookstores, a new organization that he has brought online in tribute largely to his precious mother, who ran and owned a bookstore there in Sacramento. Y'all know me. I'm always down with black bookstores. I've written, 24, 25 books, and every book tour I've ever been on, I've always insisted with the publisher that in cities where there were black bookstores, I would appear. And so I have a great love for black bookstores, and I think they've appreciated the fact over the years that I have certainly, as a part of all of my book tours, made stops in these African-American owned bookstores. So we'll talk about the brand new National Association of Black Bookstores and what KJ hopes to do with that. You're listening to Kevin Johnson. I'm glad about it on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump says a U.S. strike on a drug boat in the Caribbean killed 11 people. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth called them narco-terrorists.
We knew exactly who was in that boat, we knew exactly what they were doing, and we knew exactly who they represented. And that was Tren de Aragua, a narco-terrorist organization designated by the United States trying to poison our country with illicit drugs.
Venezuela's president condemned the move as a criminal and bloody threat. Black Mayor Patrick Braxton has been reelected in New Bern, Alabama, ending years of leadership disputes in the majority black town. His win restores fair representation and marks the first true election since the 1960s. And September is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Black men are nearly twice as likely to die from the disease. Experts now recommend PSA blood tests starting at age 40 to catch it early and save lives. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Rams coach Sean McVay is confident quarterback Matthew Stafford will start the regular season opener Sunday against Houston. The 37-year-old Stafford missed all of the preseason and most of training camp with an aggravated disc in his lower back. Stafford is scheduled to practice with the first unit all week to get ready for Sunday. Jackson State moved up to number 15 in this week's top 25 Division I AA college football poll. Jackson State is the only HBCU team ranked in the top 25. The Tigers opened the season Saturday with a 28-14 win over Hampton. Top 5 teams in this week's Division I poll: Ohio State, Penn State, LSU, Georgia, and Miami. The Dodgers lost to Pittsburgh 9-7. They still have a 2.5 game lead over San Diego in the NL West. The Angels beat Kansas City 5-1, a 2-run homer for right fielder Joe Adele. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and the former mayor of Sacramento, former NBA All-Star, just all-around successful entrepreneur and good guy, Kevin Johnson. We're going to talk in a moment here about the National Association of Black Bookstores, an organization he's brought online that I want you to be aware of. But I said a moment ago that he's had an amazing life, just an amazing life and an amazing career. I don't know too many people that have had their jersey retired by their NBA team, number 7, retired by the Phoenix Suns, and number 11 retired by the University of California, Berkeley, where he played college. That's high cotton, Kevin Johnson, when both of your jerseys have been retired.
I'll take it.
Yes.
And they still hanging in the rafters. So
there
that's
you go.
good.
That's a big deal. So I am curious. I can only imagine there's a long list of them. But what kind of lessons from your playing days have you applied to your work as an entrepreneur and your service as a public servant?
I think the one that comes to mind for me is, as a basketball player, I was a point guard.
Right.
And as a point guard, you bring the ball up the court, you distribute the ball to your teammates. You got to make your teammates happy. Professional athletes, we all have big egos, so you got to find a way to appease everybody, and you got to get everybody to work toward a common goal. And that goal is, you put your egos in check. You want to win an NBA championship, and you're going to be and do your role for the betterment of the team to win this goal. When I ran for office and got elected mayor, it was very similar. I had a group of constituents that have varying views, like my teammates, and I had to do my job to listen and make sure I distributed it or made sure resources went to a lot of different people with an ultimate goal to make Sacramento the best city it could be. So that was kind of one example of a comparison, that being a mayor and a point guard was something, very similar. And then the second thing, we often talk about focus and discipline and leadership and perseverance and hard work. But at the end of the day, the same things that make you successful as an athlete, the hard work, the dedication, are those skills that come with that are transferable, and they apply to being a mayor. So when I became mayor of Sacramento, I was the first one at City Hall. I was the last one to leave. I outworked everybody. I put the time in. I listened to constituents, even though they may not agree with my perspective or I wasn't going to get their vote. You have to work very, very hard at whatever you do. And I think the lesson for me was skills that make you successful in one area or one industry oftentimes are transferable to another. And that was the case for me.
Yep. You were talking and something popped in my head. I want to get your take on this. So I'm thinking about my time working for Tom Bradley when he was mayor of the city of LA, and my job was to make sure that the mayor's office did good work, and that my boss was liked. At the end of the day, we want our boss to be liked so our boss can be reelected. And that was my job working for Tom Bradley, to do good work so that people would respect him and like him and re-elect him. And when I left the mayor's office, I jumped into this world of media, and now I'm offering my commentary on all sorts of political issues, and I realized that not everybody's going to like me. So because my point of view may not align with your point of view, and so you have to develop. I had to develop a thicker skin. When I got out on my own and realized that when I started espousing and expressing my own POV, that not everybody is going to agree with that particular expressed sentiment. I raise that because when you're in the NBA, I mean, certainly your fans in Phoenix, I mean, the opposing team doesn't like you, but you're used to being loved. You were loved at Cal Berkeley. You were loved as a Phoenix Sun, and now you're into politics by your own admission where everybody doesn't love you. How did you make that adjustment?
Believe it or not, two quick points. The first one is Tom Bradley, mayor of LA. When I was playing in the NBA, I reached out to his office and told him I would love to meet with him and to show you the kind of man that he was. Not knowing me, I didn't have an agenda. There was nothing I could do to benefit him. He set time out of his busy schedule to meet with someone like me. I was very young in my career. I was a big fan of his. I just wanted to tell him thank you. So those kind of gestures and those good deeds that people like him have done that often don't get a lot of credit, that just shows you the man that you worked for back then. So
Yeah.
that's one tidbit.
Yeah.
The second thing is, Tavis, this won't surprise you either. When you play sports, half the time people like you and half the time people don't like you, believe it or not, because you play half the games at home and you play half the games on the road. And then even half your fans don't like what you do half the time, and the other times they do. And it's all about whether you winning and losing, right? At the end of the day. So I think even in my world, I was sitting with my teammate back in the day. His name was Mark West. And I had this career where everybody liked me, everything I did. And this one day, he and I were having a conversation, and somebody came up to the table and they said, "Can we get your autograph and take a picture?" And I said, "Absolutely. Just give me about 5 minutes because we're wrapping up." And they got mad at me. And they thought I was being disrespectful. And I remember thinking right then that you are not going to be able to please everybody all the time. And you got to stand on what you believe and your values, be respectful, but you're going to encounter that. So as a former athlete or somebody running for office, or in your case, working for the mayor, or now on the journalism side of the equation, everybody's not going to like you no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try. And you just got to have thick enough skin and a good character and good foundation to be okay with that. And I think, true leaders are.
Yeah, I did not know that Tom Bradley story. I'm glad you shared it because it leads me to ask. It was abundantly clear to everybody who saw you play that you had great court vision. You had great court vision, but you also had career vision. Like, what was it about you as an NBA player? And obviously, common sense tells me Tom Bradley wasn't the only person you reached out to connect with and to spend some time with. You obviously reached out to others. What was it about? What was happening? Just explain that to me. Like, you're in the NBA, you got a great life, you're making great money, you got fans everywhere, but your court vision is one thing, but you got a career vision. You're already establishing relationships with people. Again, you had nothing to offer Tom Bradley, but I'm just turned on by the fact that you were outside of the realm of athletics, making connections, talking to people who had something to offer, something you could learn from them, et cetera, et cetera. What was that about, even in your playing days?
My grandfather told me that I needed to have an exit strategy before I got into NBA. I needed to be thinking about post NBA, because back then, if you play 2 or 3 years, you're lucky. If you play 5 years, you're super blessed. And if you play beyond that, you don't went to heaven and back.
Yeah.
So for me, I had to begin with the end in mind. I had an exit strategy. So that was number one. Number two, believe it or not, right there in LA, I reached out to Magic Johnson during the summertime. And I said, "Man, you are so successful off the court. Will you give me some time?" So I went to Magic Johnson's offices and I spent time with him. And he just kind of laid out the roadmap for what he did. And it was, number one, it was give back to the community, find something you're passionate about, but give back to the community. Number two, find interests that are beyond basketball that somehow may be connected to basketball, so you can leverage your basketball success for whatever that entrepreneurial endeavor is. So that was a very pivotal moment for me. And it just shows you that how this collegiality that athletes have with each other, even though you compete against each other and you go to battle and you go to war, you still want to help each other because, that's what we do. And then the last person I would say, and this is kind of ironic too, I'm in Detroit a lot because we just opened a Fixins in Detroit, but Isaiah Thomas, he was part of the Bad Boys. And I didn't know him very well, but we were playing him in Phoenix and he was with Detroit. And I met him at the hotel and we spent like 4 hours together. And he literally just told me all the things that he learned as a successful athlete that he has parlayed somehow into business. And I might not have remembered all of them, but there was enough of them that I remember because they were so key. There were so many key nuggets. And it just shows you behind the scenes, these athletes are super smart. They got great work ethic and they want to help more people be successful and be larger. It's bigger than sports in our perspective. And two examples for me of two athletes that went above and beyond to make sure that I had the ability to do something other than dribble the ball.
Well, as you just heard, he listened well and he learned well, and he just mentioned that they've opened up a new restaurant, Fixins in Detroit. So his entrepreneurial pursuits are still expanding and growing, and that's a good thing. When we come forward, I want to spend the rest of our time talking about the National Association of Black Bookstores. You're listening to Kevin Johnson on Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte. Let's preserve black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of black land lost before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling black stories, there is resistance in remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandlost.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Kevin Johnson. KJ, tell me about your precious mother.
Oh, man. I get emotional thinking about it. I mean, you had a chance to meet her over the years.
Oh, yeah.
And she was by my side, thin and thick, good, bad, and everything in between. And she ran this bookstore. She was a registered nurse in her first career. And then her second career, she started a bookstore in Sacramento in 2003 called Underground Books. And she ran that for 21 years. She passed away December of 2024. And after she passed, and thank you for your note, Tavis, too, when she passed.
No, you're welcome.
After she passed, I was trying to figure out how can I honor her? What would be a cool way to keep her legacy alive? And she just loved the Black bookstore community. And I did a little research. I realized there was not a national association of Black bookstores. And I said, all right, I talked to a number of Black bookstore owners. I said, should we do this? And they said it would be a great way to honor your mom, but also it would be a great way to bring Black bookstore owners together. And, you know, there's strength in numbers. So now we have the National Association of Black Bookstores, and we're off and running. And, you know, our vision is for this organization to be one of the most influential and transformative forces for Black bookstores, Black literature, and Black authors around the country.
I am pleased to share with you that I was asked by Kevin Johnson to be on the advisory board for the National Association of Black Bookstores, and I readily accepted. And so I'm going to do my part in whatever ways I can, including with this initial conversation, letting the world know about this new organization, do whatever I can, Kevin, to support you in your work with this organization to help protect and preserve Black bookstores. I guess the question is, how do we do that? We know that the economy is tight for everybody these days. Black businesses, I just discussed on this program earlier this week, Black businesses are taking it on the chin during the Trump era because of all the pushback against DE&I and anything Black, and all the Black workers who've been let go from their federal jobs. Black folk are just catching hell right about now, and I shudder to think about Black businesses. You know, I'm running my stuff here in LA, and you're running your stuff in California and Detroit and everywhere else. But it's tough for Black businesses right about now. And into that matrix, I want to focus specifically on Black bookstores. It's especially tough for them. So what do we do to help protect and preserve the longevity of Black bookstores when you got an administration now that don't want people to read about Black history?
Yeah, let me start, Tavis, with a historical point, if I may.
Sure.
In 1834, there was a Black abolition named David Ruggles, and he had a Black bookstore. 100 years later, in 1932, a brother named Louis Michaud in Harlem had a Black bookstore. Black bookstores have played a role in our existence as Black people in this country in ways that we can not even imagine. And I'll give you an example. Right now, there's a Black bookstore in Marshall called Marshall's Music and Books in Jackson, Mississippi. It has been around since 1938. Like talking 4 or 5 generations. Nobody even knows where this bookstore is. There's a bookstore in Philadelphia called Hakeem's Book, been around since 1969, run by a lady named Yvonne Blake. 1959. A Black bookstore in Oakland, California called Marcus Books, which I know you know Marcus Books, run by Blanche Richardson.
That's right.
So first of all, we need to make sure that we are educating and giving the history and legacy of these Black bookstores the time they deserve, because they have withstood us in many ways. So that's number one. Secondly, even today, there's like almost 300 Black bookstores around the country. Most people don't know that. So in terms of brick and mortar, there's 180 online. There's about 50. Sometimes there's Black bookstores in museums or art galleries in a host of places. So we're there. To get to your question is, I'm going to give you one example, and you brought it up on the beginning of the call. One of the biggest complaints that Black bookstores have is that Black big name authors do not do book signings at Black bookstores.
That's right.
If we can get our Black authors to take a pledge and to say, every time I come out with a new book, I'm going to do 50% or 70% of my book signings at Black bookstores. That right there is the difference from a Black bookstore struggling to survive to thriving. And I'm gonna give you a case in point.
Hold that thought 1 second. Hold that case in point. I want to hear it when we come forward in our remaining moments with Kevin Johnson.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Kevin Johnson. I got a tight 3 minutes. Mayor, give me that case in point you were teeing up for me.
Yeah, I'll close out with this. I'm in Detroit. There's a black bookstore in Detroit called Source Booksellers, run by a lady named Janet Jones. If she has a big name author that comes to Detroit in her bookstore and does a book signing, let me give you an example. A book costs $30. They sell 200 books. That's $6,000. That right there is enough to pay the rent. If you do that 3 or 4 times over the course of a year, it is significant for the financial sustainability of bookstores. So I am pleading for people like you. You've already done it, Tavis. We need more black authors to commit to significantly do book signings in black bookstores. It makes a big difference in terms of their existence.
I should mention, since Kevin Johnson just gave that amazing example of the impact that black authors going to black bookstores have on the bottom line, to the bottom line of these 300 black bookstores that exist in this country. If you're in the Southern California area, speaking of black bookstores, we have a black bookstore here in LA called Malik Books. Malik Books is hosting a conversation that I am honored to moderate with the billionaire Robert Smith. You all know the billionaire Robert Smith. He's the one that gave the commencement at Morehouse a few years ago and agreed to pay the debt of every black man graduating that day. That's the billionaire Robert Smith. He has a new book out called Lead Boldly: 7 Principles from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. 7 principles from King that he's applied to his work and witness and on his way to becoming a billionaire. Again, the book is called Lead Boldly, and on Sunday, October the 12th, at the Miracle Theater, 6 p.m. here in Southern California, if you're in the area, I'll be moderating a conversation with Robert Smith about his new book called Lead Boldly. But again, that's brought to you by Malik Books. And so, again, just a case in point. He mentioned case in point. I got a case in point. Here's an example of what happens when black authors come to black bookstores. Malik's going to sell a whole lot of books that night with this conversation with Robert Smith, again, Sunday, October 12th at the Miracle Theater in Inglewood. Kevin Johnson, I thank you for your work and your witness. I thank you for bringing online the National Association of Black Bookstores. It's about time. I'm glad you had the vision and the fortitude to bring this online. I'm delighted to be on the advisory board supporting you in any way I can on behalf of these 300 black bookstores that exist in the country. Enjoyed this conversation immensely, my friend. Congrats on the new fixings in Detroit. If you're listening in Detroit right now and you have not experienced fixings, is it open already, Kevin?
We've been open for 1 year and 12 days.
Oh, you've been there a while. I've been there a while. Okay, well, if you're listening in Detroit and you've not gone to Fixings in Detroit or any place else that Fixings exists, including here in L.A., I highly recommend it. Good food, good times, good people. Kevin Johnson, thanks for the conversation, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother. Appreciate you.
Just like that, 3 hours gone. Back here tomorrow, Lord willing, to do it all over again. Until tomorrow, thanks for tuning in to Tavis Smiley. And as always, keep the faith.